Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Eric. I am Jake. Our guy Mon is out protecting our community. He had to work tonight, work a shift for the fire department. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. And Eric, there is still a heartbeat with our Cincinnati Bengals. It's it's pitter pattering, but we got a lot to talk about there. Hey, Mon's in the comments. There you go. Hey, Mon, Hooday. We miss you, buddy. We miss you, but we appreciate everything you do for our community. Thank you so much, brother. Be safe tonight. Yeah, Hooday, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us. Our Bengals are still in it, Eric. It's pitter pattering, but you and I both got to go to the game last week, and this team and the atmosphere in Cincinnati. Man, oh man, gosh, I just want to get in. I just want this team to have an opportunity, right? I mean, just being around and being in that atmosphere last week for that Broncos game. This team, I'm telling you, man, if they get in, they are going to be dangerous.
When they get in.
Yeah, gonna get in, right? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts right now? How you feeling? Is everything gonna work out? Because you always tell me it is, so I'm hoping you're right.
I'm that guy when we lost to the Steelers last time and everybody said that this team was on pull the plug, the life support's not going to work, get them out of here. I'm the guy saying, no, there's still a sliver of brain activity. We're going to make it. We have a chance. There's a window. There's a path. I live and breathe that. And here we are, week 18. We're playing for a chance to go all the way, playing for a chance to get in and to exact some revenge. And you couldn't ask for anything more. I mean, we could ask for another win, but it's exciting, and I believe it's going to happen. The cards are all there, and time to get it.
Time to get it is right. We have a jam-packed show. Olivia says we want Mon. We have a jam-packed show.
We want the fireman here too, but instead he's got to fight the real fires tonight. Hopefully, there's no fires for him to fight. There's no lives to save tonight. Hopefully, it's just a boring shift. Yes. But we appreciate your service, Mon.
And obviously, too, I think before we start the show, we need to throw out some thoughts and prayers to everybody in New Orleans and in Las Vegas. Obviously, not something you ever want to see, but very sad situations. And again, thoughts and prayers to all the families involved, everybody that had to witness those horrific events in Las Vegas and New Orleans. We're praying for you guys, and just horrible, horrible stuff. And you hate to see that. Scary. This is a scary world we live in, Eric. Very scary.
Yeah, and there's not much we can say. Thoughts and prayers to go out there. It's a really sad event that went on. We're passionate football fans here, and then life comes in and throws things at you like that, and it just feels like none of it matters. And we're not here to give any profound takes on that. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone. We're just here to, we're going to talk football and be a distraction from the crap that life is sometimes. We get really upset about this game, but there's a lot worse things going out there. So appreciate everybody joining us. We're here to be a distraction, and we'll keep sending our thoughts and prayers and hope that this world can be a little bit better place tomorrow, and we can stop seeing things like that happen.
Scary, right? It's scary. Like, I'm trying to, you and I both have little ones, and I'm trying to explain to my 8-year-old, he's revved up, ready to watch some football, like we all were, and trying to explain just everything to him it's tough, man. It's scary raising young ones right now in this world that we live in. It's just scary. But let's talk a little football. Again, thoughts and prayers to everybody out there and everybody that was affected by what happened these last couple days. Eric, moving on to some Bengal news. First of all, I have to say this. I have not watched any of the Hard Knocks it's I know I know I should have. It's just the season has been so heartbreaking. But I will tell you, I watched this last episode. I had to watch the Broncos one. It is the best. It is the best moment. Wait, let me think how I can phrase this. It is the best moment of Bengals TV that I have seen in a very long time. It was done awesome, and I am going to go back and watch the other ones now. But Hard Knocks episode, it was incredible. I mean, just oh man, it just got me just wanting this playoff spot so bad.
Yeah, you got to give it to the HBO Max crew and HBO Films for this season. They've done a great job producing it. I mean, they've made me actually watch the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Ravens. I mean, usually I just fast forward through that stuff, but some great producing going on and some great story unfolding. And honestly, a lot of in the years past, everybody kind of cringed when your team was on Hard Knocks. AFC North football, man, they could do Hard Knocks for AFC North every year, and I think it would be one of the top rated shows. There's just so much good drama in there, and as Mon points out, we're 3-1 since filming started, and I think we're going to keep going on a run. I mean, if that's the case, they need to keep filming while we're in the playoffs.
Yeah, I know, Bryson. It's terrible. I should have been watching it, but this season has just been so hard. It's like even when you watch the positives, all you can think about is how is this team 8-8? I mean, this is a 13-win team, and the national media and stuff. Obviously they all feel the same way as we do. They can't really understand how this is possible. And I can't remember who it was, but somebody was saying it would be one of the biggest failures of an NFL franchise if this team does not make the playoffs the way that these players have played. And it's hard to disagree with that, right? I mean, it really is not a failure so much to how well the offense and everything is played, but I think as a whole, you have a wide receiver right now that's going for the triple crown, which you don't see very often. You have a quarterback who is really should be the MVP of the NFL. Really is the best player in the NFL at this point, and somehow you're 8-8. Obviously, we know the defense and everything else, but man, oh man, I'll tell you I'm going to be heartbroken. I'm going to be heartbroken
Yeah.
if this doesn't work out.
Well, I mean, we talked about it all off season, and it really comes down to it is a failure on the organization for a couple of reasons. One, player scouting and player development. You didn't have a lot of these people ready to play when you first started. But the biggest thing, and Mon and you gripe on it all off season, you have to start faster. We started 0-3. Yeah, we played the Chiefs and we played the Ravens. So 1-2 could have been realistic, but you can't drop the home opener against the Patriots. So really, it comes down to a failure for Zach Taylor not having his guys ready. You got to come out and beat those Patriots. And if we beat the Patriots, all we have to do is win this game and we're in. We talk about a lot of misses, a lot of games that were here and there. Beat the Patriots, and now you're talking about controlling your destiny and claiming a playoff berth. So it's hard to say anybody that's on anybody except for as Mon would put it, the country club training camp. You got to start ready to go.
Going to be interesting to see how that all unfolds next off season, the way it's all run, and I don't know. Going to be an interesting off season, but let's get Eric. Let's get because we need to talk about this Pittsburgh game coming up and the significance of that, and not only that, but what has to happen for our Bengals to make the playoffs. But before we do, the Bengals brought a lot of hardware home this week. Let's talk a little bit about it, Eric. Why don't you? I love the graphic. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. I figure the easiest way is just go to Bengals Twitter here. this was kind of a no-brainer when it came out, but Joe Burrow and T. Higgins win the FedEx Air and Ground trophies for the week.
But
I
you don't see
mean,
that. You don't see that very often. I mean, I can't remember
I
last
think we
time.
saw it with Joe and Jamar already earlier this year, didn't we? Yeah, I think so.
Um,
I'll have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure that
oh
Joe
yeah,
and
I think
Jamar
we
won it
did
together.
for the Ravens game. I think we did, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And when we talked about this post game, we talked about the ridiculous stat line, 39 for 49 for Joe Burrow. What I forgot until we were off air, there were three drops, at least three. Actually, yeah, there's at least three drops. It's just straight up drops. Gasecki dropped one, Jamar dropped a touchdown, and T dropped one, I think in the third or fourth quarter. So realistically, Joe should have been 42 for 49. It's just crazy the performance that he's putting in and week out.
Oh, it's just it's ridiculous. I mean, he's having it's getting overlooked because of the record, but he is having one of the best quarterback seasons in recent history. I mean, we're not just talking about we're just not talking about the last year or two. We're talking about recent history. This is one of the best quarterback seasons that the NFL has seen, and I'm going to tell you, man, whether the Bengals make the playoffs or not, if we win, when we win on Saturday, uh, they're gonna have a really hard time explaining why he doesn't win the MVP. They really are. I mean, whether we go to the playoffs or not, the NFL is gonna have some explaining to do if Joe Burrow is not the MVP, especially if he goes out and balls out on Saturday, which I think he will.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, and that's one of the things I had to talk later, but we could talk now. I think he needs 359 yards to hit 5,000 yards for the season, and there's not many quarterbacks that have gotten 5,000 yards, and I don't think there's any that have gotten 5,000 yards and haven't won the MVP. So stat wise, if you're looking at stat wise, you have to say he's the MVP. But if they're saying it's obviously a team control, team success determines who the MVP is. That's the only way they can put it out there and take it away from him because his stats blow everybody's stats away. Even when you add the rushing touchdowns in for Josh Allen and Lamar, Burrow has more total touchdowns than any of them. He's got more total yards than any of them. He's just going crazy out there, and it's really a shame that we don't have one more victory because he would be the front runner.
Well, and I think too, you look at, and again, these football games. There's a team sport. I mean, it's a team sport. Football is the greatest team sport of any. But you look at Lamar and Josh Allen because that's what it's going to come down to, right? Joe, Lamar, and Josh. You look at what Lamar and what Josh Allen have around them. Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, where they have 9 or 10 Pro Bowlers this year. Josh Allen in Buffalo, same thing. I mean, obviously Joe has Jamar and T and some good offensive weapons, but Trey Hendrickson, the only Bengal to make the Pro Bowl. And really, I mean, let's be realistic. He's the only deserving one. I usually don't put a lot of stock into the Pro Bowl because I think it's a joke most of the time. But really, Trey is the only one that you could say is deserving of the Pro Bowl. But yeah, I mean, you throw those three guys' stats up next to each other, and the completion percentage, which is a huge quarterback stat at any level. Joe, I mean, I know 69 and 67 don't seem far apart, but that's a lot of attempts, and it is far apart. The yards obviously aren't even close. Joe Burrow almost 700 yards more than the next closest. The TD to interception ratio, again, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have an incredible run game. Both of them do. So obviously Joe is put in a situation where he's got to throw the ball a lot more. The passer rating, again, Lamar Jackson has a much better run game. And, again, you look at Josh Allen's 12 touchdowns, that's so skewed. I would say probably 10 of those are 1-yard touchdown runs. So that's a very skewed stat. To me, Josh Allen should not even be in this conversation. It's really Joe and Lamar for the MVP. If Josh Allen wins this, then the NFL is just disgusting, to be honest.
And
He
yeah,
shouldn't be in this conversation.
well, and that's just it. That the whole rationale behind Josh Allen being the front runner is that, well, Lamar's won it 2 times. Well, that's just bull crap. I'm not a Lamar guy. I'm not a Ravens guy. But he's the only person that you can give it to over Joe Burrow based on stats and even team success. I mean, his team is going to win the AFC North. They're going to be one of the top seeds. And you look at his stats; he's the only one that's close. I don't know how you could hand it to Josh Allen over Lamar. He just doesn't. He doesn't have the numbers here compared to him. And
That's crazy.
like you said, it's not like he's scrambling for a 47-yard touchdown like Joe did, or well, he did catch his own touchdown pass, but that was kind of ridiculous, kind of a fluky play. But yeah,
to me, the only reason that Josh Allen is in this conversation is because of how well his team is played, and his team has played well because of how well the defense has played and how great of a run game they have. Those passing stats, I mean, those aren't anything that you would be like, oh my God, look what this guy is out there doing. Again, I know he's got 12 rushing touchdowns, but I have seen at least 9 or 10 of those 1-yard plunges. You can't. That's skewed. That's so skewed. The rushing touchdowns for quarterbacks, to me, is the most skewed stat, because you look at a guy like Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is not a great running quarterback, but if they get to the 1-yard line, it's the tush push. That's such a skewed stat, and the same thing with Josh Allen. He is that is such a skewed stat that, to me, he's not even a candidate for this. He shouldn't even be talked about. Again,
I agree. I think if anything, you should be looking at Lamar, Joe, and Saquon. I mean, Saquon would break Eric Dickerson's record, but they're not going to let him play this week. And per carry, he's got better numbers.
I think Saquon 100 times deserves to be on this list more than Josh Allen. I mean, that's such a joke. I understand the NFL is trying to get like these face guys. I feel like that's what's going on here, because Josh Allen, you're right. Saquon Barkley should be in the talks of MVP. I mean, he's not playing on Sunday because they're resting him, but he's 100 yards away from breaking the record. And I know he played another game, whatever. I don't care about all that, but
if you look at the numbers wise, he has I think 39 less carries than Eric Dickerson had in his 16-game season. So the fact that they've played one less game doesn't mean anything, because yards per carry, he's beating him.
That's a really good point.
I think that's just ridiculous. If you're really going to put it out there and say that it's the MVP, then you have to include someone like Saquon, and you should include Joe. Otherwise you're calling this is the best player on the best team award, and that's where we're going to go. And even if you're going to do that, I would argue that the Bills aren't the best team. So if you're going to go that way, then you got to start including some of those Lions players, like
Baltimore. Baltimore's not the best team.
I mean, record-wise, Baltimore doesn't have the best record, but
you're talking about out of the 3 teams. We're not talking about in the NFL,
right? But I mean, if you're going to open it up and say it's the best player on the best team, then you got to actually look at the best teams. The Bills, the Bills I believe they beat the Lions and the Chiefs, so they've got that notched for them, but they're not the most dominant team out there.
But I think if you look, I mean, they have to, and I know we got off a little off topic here, but I think this is a good conversation, because there is a huge argument for Joe Burrow when it comes to this. And again, like you said, this is not the award for the best player on the best team. This is the award for the best player in the NFL. And Joe Burrow has the worst defense in the NFL. He has possibly one of the worst offensive lines, bottom tier. I mean, this offensive line's been thrown together all over the place all season long. Uh, I mean, again, I'm not trying to take away from Lamar and what he's done, or even Josh Allen or whatever, but I mean, good Lord, those guys have so much better defenses. If Joe Burrow had one of those defenses, Eric, it probably would have been a undefeated season.
Oh
That's how
yeah.
good Joe Burrow is.
Well, that's just it. Our defense is giving up an average of 26 points per game.
That's
The Chiefs are
crazy.
giving up 18 per game. Joe's out there getting his team to score 28 per game,
Crazy.
28.3.
Crazy.
And yeah, if you take okay,
Almost 30 points a game. That's so
yeah,
terrible, dude.
last year we managed to get to 9-8 with Jake Browning, but there was some good playoff type performances by Joe Burrow mixed in there to help get to that. But if you take Joe Burrow off of this year's roster, what name a game that we win? Jake Browning is not out there doing what Joe's doing. He's not scrambling like that. You can't make an offense that's gonna make up for some of the interior O-line deficiencies. I don't see a game out there that we would have won without Joe. Uh, but maybe that Browns game, because that was kind of a down, that first Browns game where we kind of had a down offense performance. But man, I see us being in the top 2 or 3 picks if Joe's not on this team this year.
I think I don't remember. We have so many group chats now, right? We you and I we're like in 3 or 4 different group chats. I can't keep up with all of it, but I know Eric. One of our group chats. I think it was Mon's son that maybe said this. I don't know if it was Jake or Luke. Maybe Jake said this. I can't remember. Maybe it was Justin. I'm not sure, but somebody said that the entire interior of the Chiefs' offensive line made the Pro Bowl as starters.
I think
That's
that was Mon that dropped that fact
Oh,
on
was
us.
that Mon that actually dropped it?
Yeah.
That is so ridiculous. You know what I mean? I mean, you think about that. Think about if Joe Burrow had three, and those guys really are probably going to be all pros, which is what really matters, not the Pro Bowl. Imagine if we had three all pro offensive linemen with Joe Burrow. I mean, dude, you're talking about averaging 45 points a game in the NFL. It would be historic if Joe Burrow had three all pros on the offensive line, especially the interior of the offensive line.
Yeah, and you could argue that he had one All Pro going
That's
so
it.
far this season.
Look at Mon. You see
Yeah,
what
Mon,
Mon
claim it. I got you,
Mon
Mon. I
said
know
it.
you
Is
said
he
it.
talking in third person? Is that what he
Yeah,
does when he's not on the show? He talks in third person?
he's the Mon for a reason. You could argue that Orlando Brown Jr. before his injury was playing at All Pro level, and even after the games that he's played, he didn't give up pressure last week, even on a broken leg. So I would argue that OBJ is All Pro this year, and you could make the case that Mims is trending in for sure a Pro Bowl right tackle. So Joe's going to have two, but like Mon has drilled home, you need that interior. You need some studs up front because
Yeah.
most of this game is recognizing where your exterior pressure is coming, stepping up, and having a place to step up and throw to. So yeah, if we don't need all pros. If we get to, what do we say, fourth vote getters in Pro Bowl voting, if our three up the middle are just in the conversation for Pro Bowl offensive linemen, it's going to be lights out because Joe's going to have 5-6 seconds to throw, and you don't want to give Joe 5 to 6 seconds to throw. You're game
Well,
over then.
well, let's talk about, because Joe did win. He did win one MVP, did he not, Eric? You broke
Yeah,
the news. You broke the
let
news
me
to
get
me
that up
right
here.
before we went live. You want to throw that up there? Joe Burrow today, right? Joe Burrow got it today.
I'm not sure if it was today or yesterday, but I'm trying to get it up on the screen. Joe Burrow was named the Nickelodeon Valuable Player, the
The
MVP.
Nickelodeon valuable player. I'm not
Yeah, I
sure
can't get it up here.
how much weight that's going to carry for Joe Burrow, but no Vanguard. Orlando Brown did not make the Pro Bowl. He was like a ninth alternate or some crazy. what was Orlando Brown, like a sixth alternate or seventh alternate or something like that? I can't remember what it was.
And I'll give him that. He hasn't played a lot of games this year because of his injuries, but
Chase Brown was a fourth alternate.
yeah.
That's something. I mean,
That's something you have to give him credit for. Bengals players don't typically get voted in. So the season that Joe's having has really kind of given a lot of other people visibility because normally people don't vote for Bengals players because they don't know who the heck they are. So here it is, Nickelodeon MVP, week 17 MVP. So we still got to see the whole year MVP. But last year was a lot of fun. They actually came out and dumped slime on the guy's head. So hopefully we get to see maybe a video of that happening to Joe.
Got it. Mon, what? Okay, Mon says Orlando Brown was a second alternate. So there you go. I thought it was further down, but Mon says Orlando was a second alternate. But again, I think, listen, the Pro Bowl thing, it is what it is. I mean, it's one of those, I don't know. It seems like a popularity contest, especially when you look at the NFC and Jane Daniels makes it over Baker Mayfield. That is absolutely terrible. Baker Mayfield is having, again, an incredible season. I mean, incredible season. There is no way Baker Mayfield should not be one of the top three quarterbacks in the NFC right now.
Yeah, I mean, you say what you want. He's been lights out. So again, it's a popularity contest, which to me is so weird. How Jaden Daniels would win a popularity contest unless we're seeing the fact that two LSU quarterbacks were able to pull all the votes because Jaden had more than Joe. So maybe it's just LSU voting that's
nuts.
Yeah, I don't know.
People have lost their mind. KP,
I don't know. I only know of.
You see what KP wrote? I love
it. Yeah, I got that. I got that from my Destiny later on. So we'll bring that up a little later on. Thank you, KP, for that.
That's good stuff.
It's all the greatest story ever told. I'm still pushing it out here.
No, well, let's
talk
about. But before we talk about this whole playoff scenario, Eric, the Bengals have to win on Saturday, and we found out that some stuff got moved around, right? Some games got moved around. Everything was kind of to be determined, and it does work in the Bengals' favor. To be honest with you, Eric, the Ravens play the Browns at 4:00 on Saturday. The Ravens are going to destroy the Browns. If the Ravens win, they win the division outright. The Steelers-Bengals kick off at 8 p.m. that day. Going to be interesting to see what the Steelers do because I think they can only move up one spot, and that would be if the Chargers lost to the Raiders, which is not going to happen either. So going to be very interesting to see if the Steelers do rest any players. I don't think it would matter. I think the Bengals are going to win this football game either way. But Saturday is going to be a very interesting day, and then we have to wait all the way till Sunday when the Bengals win on Saturday to see what happens in the Dolphins and the Broncos games. Both of those games kicking off at 4:25 on Sunday night. Man, oh man, when the Bengals win on Saturday, Sunday, I am going to be a nervous wreck. But it's going to be a fun weekend. I'll be honest with you. I know a lot of people are thinking the Chiefs are going to lay down for the Broncos, and I know Carson Wentz is starting, but I don't think they're going to lay down for the Broncos because I'm going to tell you right now, there's got to be a thought in their mind that if we win this game and the Bengals get in, then they can take care of business in Buffalo, and as opposed to we're the only team besides the Chiefs that are going to be able to beat the Buffalo Bills, as far as I'm concerned, in the AFC. And I think the Chiefs know that. I think the Chiefs know that Joe Burrow owns Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, and I think it would be interesting to see if I just don't see the Chiefs laying down. I know the Chiefs don't want to see the Bengals, but if you're the Chiefs and you get to sit back and watch the Bengals and the Bills beat each other up, and then you don't have to worry about playing them until the AFC Championship. Well, unless the Bengals win, then it would be the next week. I said that wrong, but if the Bengals win, obviously the Chiefs playing. If the Bills win, it would be the AFC Championship. But two teams get to beat each other up. I'm going to tell you right now, the Jets are going to beat the Dolphins. I don't think the Dolphins have a chance in this football game. They just played a absolutely abysmal Browns team that there's no reason why the Browns should not have won that football game. They are just so bad. Might be the worst team in the NFL as we speak. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this weekend? What do you see happening?
Yeah, let's go ahead, and we were going to do our Bengals discussion here, but let's talk these games before we get to our matchup. Let's talk the Chiefs and Broncos. I think we have a very valid point, and Andy Reid is a Hall of Fame coach. Nobody can argue that. That man's going to walk in the Hall of Fame as soon as he's eligible. And one, it's a division opponent. It'd be like us saying we're going to lay down and let the Ravens get beat, get into the playoffs. Like, I don't care who our matchup is. If we were able to knock the Ravens, the Steelers, the Browns out, you think that we're going to be resting our players? No, we don't want them to get into the playoffs. I think the Chiefs are very similar with the Broncos because they're in their division. I do think that there is merit to the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and you're absolutely right. The Chiefs should be looking at this and saying, "Hey, we need Joe Burrow to get in there, to knock the Bills out," because the Chiefs aren't scared of our defense anymore. And if they were, they look at it and see all the injuries now, and they see the fact that we're still giving up 26 points a game. They have to favor a matchup with us over the Bills. So there has to be some conversation there that they want us to go in there and take out the Bills if possible. Not saying they're going to lay down, go in there and play all their starters, but you've got Andy Reid, Hall of Fame coach, who's out there game planning. You can't rest everybody. You've got 53 men. You can't rest everybody. You can rest your quarterback. You can rest Travis Kelce. But are you going to, maybe you rest that interior O-line, but you can't rest them all. And when you do, you don't have scrubs as backups. You've got Carson Wentz. This man, the pride and joy of North Dakota State University, he was leading in the MVP race the year that he got hurt. And then Nick Foles had to come in there and take him to the championship. He was dominating. It wasn't until after that knee injury that he kind of had his bumps and bruises. But what has he had the ability to do? He's had the ability to sit there and learn from Mahomes, learn from Andy Reid. We've seen the bounce back that Sam Darnold has had this year just by going to a coach and a good organization. You could see Carson Wentz come out there and absolutely light it up. And I think our boy P. Ryan is there too, right? He's going to be out there.
Listen. Carson Wentz is not a scrub here. I'm not saying he's great, but he is not like a normal bat. This guy has taken a team to the Super Bowl. Now, he was hurt. He got injured, didn't get to play in it. But that was an MVP season that he had.
Yes.
MVP-like season that he had. And you're right. They can't sit everybody. Listen, the Broncos, this game is going to be close. But I do like the Chiefs in this football game. I'm not just saying that because I want it to happen, maybe a little bit, but I do believe that the Chiefs are not just looking at it as, we don't want the Bengals to get in because, nobody wants to play Joe Burrow in the playoffs. He's the only quarterback that every team would list as, who do you not want to see at quarterback in the playoffs? It would be Joe Burrow. But I do think that they know that the Chiefs know that the Bengals would go to Buffalo, beat the Bills, knock the Bills out for the Chiefs because the Chiefs struggle against the Bills. Then the Bengals actually have to turn around and travel to Kansas City. That's a rough go for the Bengals. And I think the Chiefs like that. I do. I don't see them being we're not going to let the Bengals get in. I could be wrong about this, but I do think the Chiefs win this football game.
And yeah, and just to add on that, Zim was hammering this home earlier. The Chiefs still have that chip on their shoulder from Burrowhead and from the Bengals uh, having their number. And we had it this year too. We should have won that game. So I think that there is merit that the Chiefs want to see us in the playoffs because they want to prove that, hey, we're the better team. They want to have that opportunity. Yes, they know that Buffalo is a tougher matchup for them, but they want to be able to exercise those demons. Mon's got a prediction for this game. He's got the Kansas City Chiefs winning 24-21. So what say you, Coach Jake?
I was going to say 20-17. I think the Chiefs win on a last second field goal, and we we're all in Bengaldom are going to be going crazy because I think the Jets are going to beat the Dolphins. I don't think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be close.
Let's talk about it. One of the news that we got earlier this week was that Aaron Rodgers acknowledged the fact that this could be his final game in the NFL.
That's big.
That is big because anybody that's followed Aaron Rodgers' career and Aaron Rodgers' personality there is some ego there. There is I'm going to do things my way, and but that ego comes out whether he wants to put it out there or not. And
yeah.
I don't think that this is a man that's washed up. I think this is a Jets team that was checked out. He did everything possible to make it his team and run with it. But what can happen in the last week of the season? I mean, it's not a scrub team. They've got defensive rookie of the year and offensive rookie of the year from a couple of years ago. They got Sauce Gardner on defense. Aaron Rodgers. How many MVPs did this guy win? He's not washed up. He's just been checked out, in my opinion. And what checks a guy in more than saying you can go out there and light it up and prove in your final game that you're still the MVP and you're going to go out on your terms.
And I think that's huge, right? I think you make a good point there. And I think Davante Adams spoke too about, hey, this is probably going to be the last time I play with Aaron Rodgers. I'm telling you, these guys are going to go out. Listen, we're talking about, yes, the Jets looked bad last week, but they played a really good Bills team, guys. The Bills are good. I mean, they are really good. The Dolphins are awful. They are awful, Eric. If they have had the easiest stretch of games the last 7 games of the season or 6 games. I mean, ridiculous easy schedule. Ridiculously easy schedule the Dolphins have had. And if the Cleveland Browns last week start Jameis Winston, they beat the Dolphins by 3 touchdowns. I mean, the Dolphins are awful, guys. They are awful. If the Dolphins somehow get into the playoffs, they will get knocked out by 40 in the first round. They are that bad. So I like the Jets in this game. What did Mon say?
Well, I'll pull it up here. Well, and a couple notes to add on to that. Not only the Dolphins are 1-9 in games played under 31 degrees. I believe this game is predicted to be.
Right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty cold, but also Tua is not expected to play. We're looking at Snoop Hundley playing again, so it's not just this team. The Dolphins team has not been bad when Tua has been out there. He's been able to find Tyreek. He's been able to find Waddle, checking down to his running backs. But without Tua, they've looked like a completely different. They've looked like a top 3 picking team. He just brings that dynamic to the team that you can't quantify. And I think that's one of the big things is 1, it's a cold weather game. 2, your star quarterback's not there. 3, Aaron Rodgers wants to go out on a bang, and he's got talent around him to do it. Mon has the Jets winning this game 24-14.
And I love that pick by Mon. I think he's right. I think this is a 2-score game. I think it could be worse than that. I mean, I'll say what did he say? 24-14. I'll go 27-14. I'll take the over on Mon. I say 27-14. The Jets beat the Dolphins. And again, I don't even think this game is close. I really don't. I think the Dolphins are terrible, and I think the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, listen, he has lost his mind. There's no doubt about it. He's got a lot of issues, but he has got a crazy ego, and there is no way there's no way he is going to go out on a bad note. I'm telling you, he is going to go out to try to prove that he is who we thought he was all
He
those
is who
years
he
ago.
thought he was.
Yeah,
He's got to go prove it that he is who he thought he
yeah,
was.
yeah.
It is kind of a shame. I think the schedulers. I know that they wanted it to go on at the same time, but I think the schedulers did a disservice. We could have had one of these games at 1 o'clock, and then that 4 o'clock game, probably the Chiefs game, would have been all or nothing. So now we're going to have two TVs up watching both of these
It's going to
games.
be nerve wracking. Good Lord.
Yeah, it is what it is. I think we can get it. But we got to take care of our business first. So let's get to this Bengals Steelers matchup. A lot to digest there. The last time that we played, in shocking fashion, it was a shootout. Steelers prevailed 44-38. Bengals still had a chance at the end if they just did some edge contained on Justin Fields. We're not going to relive that because that was a month ago. And what's happened in the last month? The Bengals have run off a streak of 4 straight victories, set ourselves up for the matchup that we thought the first one would be. What are your initial thoughts on this matchup with the Steelers?
That first game was so weird, Eric, right? I mean, that really, to me, it was one of like the weirdest games of the season. You look at you look at this matchup, and the Bengals start the game off with a pick six, right? So you're right away you're thinking, and the Bengals really controlled a lot of this football game offensively. I mean, it went up and down the field, but the Bengals defense played so bad. This was their last matchup, Eric, and this is saying a lot. It was, to me, it was the worst defensive game all year. And I know that's saying a lot, but this is a Steelers team, Eric, that hadn't scored over 40 points in over a decade. Decade, Eric. This is a quarterback in Russell Wilson that had his second best passing day in his career, or something crazy like that. He threw for over 400 yards, and he's terrible, Eric. He's terrible. To me, this was the Bengals' worst defensive performance, and the defense has gotten better. It has gotten better, and I think that's the key to this football game. Because, listen, dude, the Bengals' offense is the best offense in the NFL when healthy. Hopefully, Chase Brown is playing in this football game. He's 10 yards away from 1,000. This Bengals offense, I don't think we ever have to worry about this Bengals offense. It's going to score 30-something plus points this game. All the Bengals have to do is not let this terrible, average Steelers offense. It's not even average. It might be below. They've won 2 games, Eric, and they didn't score a touchdown. They won 2 games this year and did not score 1 touchdown. If the Bengals stop the Pittsburgh Steelers and shut them down, which they should do, this game is not going to be close. The Bengals are going to win by 2 scores.
Yeah, and so I was at that game, and we kind of have the upper all 22 view, and that was what made it such a bad performance. It was literally the same play run over and over again. It had everybody pulling their hair out. It was a check down over the middle, a little Texas route to the running back. Okay, we'll give them that every time. You'll give them that route every time, but our guys couldn't make a tackle. They couldn't rally to the point. You dump it off over the middle for 3 yards. You expect maybe they get 3 to 5 yards on that reception, but they were out there breaking it and getting first downs. And I think this was the first game without Logan Wilson. Someone might have to fact check me on that, but it did seem like the game was really sped up or gone the other way for Jermaine Pratt with having to make all those calls and everything, because we saw those checkdowns over the middle, and then they would be sprung for 15. Jalen Warren had receiving. He had 4 catches for 55 yards with averaging 13.8 per catch. Najee Harris had 6 for 54, averaging 9. Najee Harris got injured on one of those catches. He got injured on a 4-yard catch. He limped for 12 yards. The dude Like, we thought he had a blown out knee. He limped for 12 yards. Nobody tackled him.
It was embarrassing.
It was just maddening. It was ridiculous.
It's
And
embarrassing.
it definitely was. And I think a lot of people did think that Lou would be let go after that game. And they didn't let him go. And credit where credit is due, he made some adjustments to his play calling and simplifying things. And this defense is playing a lot faster. They're rallying to the ball. I definitely don't think that we're going to see those checkdowns go for 13 to 15 yards this week. I think we're going to see some better tackling out there, and we have to.
Well, and this again, this defense has gotten better. It really has. I think when you look over the span of the last 4 weeks, right? By the way, Logan Wilson did not play in that Steelers first game, so and this team has adjusted better. I mean, they've done a better job adjusting without Logan Wilson, and I think the defense plays well in this football game. Listen, guys, I know there were 3 turnovers by the Bengals, but the Bengals scored 38 points in this football game at home. I don't care about the turnovers. I don't. When you score 38 points at home and lose, that's the defense. And the defense, again, was just horrific. They gave up over 500 yards to this terrible Steelers offense. Terrible. I mean, did you see them last week against the Chiefs? Good Lord. I mean, they looked like they were playing a different sport. They were so bad. So the Bengals got to show up. They got to show up on defense and play better. Can't give up 520 yards, almost 8 yards per play, 28 first downs last time they played. Steelers only punted 1 time in that football game. So the Bengals defense have to show up. They have to show up and play. Remember, too, this was a game where there was like 20-something penalties. Do you remember that? It was like the Bengals had like 10 or 11, and the Steelers had like 10 or 11. It was just sloppy, bad football. I think the Bengals have gotten better. And to me, like I said, the Bengals are playing for a lot more. I mean, the Bengals have been in playoff mode for the last 4 weeks. This will be the 5th week now the Bengals are playing for a playoff spot. So I think the Bengals do what they should have done the first time they played them, and that's beat them by a couple scores. Because they're much better than the Steelers. They really are.
That's the big difference between, and this is December, January football that the Bengals have been playing. The Bengals have won 4 straight. The Steelers have lost 3 straight. Is that correct? 3 or 4 straight.
They've lost.
Yes, they've lost 3 straight.
Lost 2 straight. So the Steelers have lost. Yeah, I think the Steelers maybe have lost 2 or 3 straight too.
They've lost 3 straight.
3 straight.
And so they don't want to go out and run the things. They asked Mike Tomlin earlier in the week if he was going to rest his players, and he didn't want to rest them because you want to try and change that around before you get into the playoffs. But I would argue that if the Bengals get up on a quick lead, say we get out a 2 or 3 scored lead in the first half, I would think that Mike Tomlin might reconsider that, and he might say, you know what, shut them down. Let's just revamp next week. So I think one of the big keys to this game is the Bengals. We have to start fast. We have to get up early. Make them shut it down because they have all the reason to shut it down. They need to be healthy that following week.
I agree.
It's definitely a possibility.
It's going to be interesting. And the Bengals, don't forget, the Bengals they beat up Najee Harris. The Steelers didn't rush the football well against us, but Russell Wilson had like a 151.8 quarterback rating. I mean, he was like 30 of 36 for 400 something yards and 3. I mean, it was just embarrassing. Good Lord. Again, to me, like I said, and this is saying a lot, Eric, because we know how bad the defense has been this year. That Steeler game was the worst defensive game of the year, as far as I'm concerned. I think the Steelers scored almost 30 in the first half, didn't they?
Yeah, and that's what made it worse was we started the game with a pick 6, and Russell wasn't hitting his receivers. Throws a bad pick 6 to CTB, and then all of a sudden we just let him get all these checkdowns and get a rhythm and start going. And they had 24 in the first half, or 27 in the first half.
I thought it was close to 30. Yeah, I mean, that's just bad football. Good Lord. Well, let's get. Oh, wait, we got a super chat. Let's. You want to throw that up there real quick?
Sure.
From Fuzzy Balls. Thanks very much, Fuzzy Balls.
Thanks for that, Fuzz. When the Bengals get a first down inside the 5 and don't score, it pisses me off. We got T, who is such a mismatch.
Yeah.
We saw last week 2 easy TDs and early in game 2 unsuccessful chances with no T. One thing that I will say on those fourth downs that really frustrated Jake and I'm all for feeding T and feeding Jamar, but 4th and 1, 4th and 2, and the Bengals burned a timeout, and they had nobody in the middle of that defensive line. Joe snaps that and sneaks it. He gets 3 yards easily. So I'm all for feeding our wide receivers and letting them cook, but there are times where you got to recognize the situation and say, hey, take what you got there, and they didn't, and that was frustrating to me. What do you think about that, Jake?
Oh, I mean, listen, Fuzzy Balls. I was just as frustrated as you were. I think we've talked about this on the show numerous times. The Zach Taylor's situational play calling in the red zone, especially inside of the 5 to 8 yard line, is just terrible. It's not good. And we saw that again last week. I mean, did you see the yeah, you watched it. You watched the Hard Knocks thing. You kind of got to see a little behind the scenes. It just, man, the play calling down there is crazy. And I was in our seats. I kept turning around to some friend of ours that are also season ticket holders. And I'm like, we have got a backup corner on T. Higgins. Why are we not throwing the ball to him 20 times this game, especially in the red zone? They did once, obviously, and scored. But the Bengals have got to do a better job of getting, when they get down there, they've got to score. And they were doing well in the beginning of the year. I think their red zone average was up there. But they've definitely missed some opportunities here lately. And, again, it comes down to the situational play calling. And, 3rd and 1 and we're throwing deep. I mean, just get first downs.
You have to, and it's not like we've given Zach a lot of heat for his situational play calling, but some of that is scheme wise, and some of that is a bigger thing. You should go into those 3rd and 1s and 4th and 1s, and Joe should be taught and he should be trained to say, hey, if you've got this front, quick sneak it, because you're going to, why was that not an option? We burned a timeout and then we didn't sneak it again. Both times they were lined up the same way.
Yeah.
Joe should have the option. Him and Ted should be able to say, go. And Ted just dives forward and Joe dives over him because there was nobody there. Even if they crash, Joe's falling forward for 3 yards. Situational football.
Right?
Yeah.
The one time they scored.
It was more wide open on that first down.
From the 1 yard line, when a team knows what you're doing, a quarterback sneak is coming the majority of the time, and the Bengals still execute it perfectly. Again, I agree with you. I mean, listen, you cannot, especially against the Steelers defense, you cannot not score when you get that opportunity. Whoa, that light was bright. Holy cow. Light just popped back on.
They're coming for you.
That's not good. You've got to be able to score, and you've got to be able to run the ball down there. And again, Fuzzy Balls, thank you very much for that super chat.
We got another one from him here, so a follow up on that.
He's right. I mean, he's right. Again, this offensive line just has not been really good this year down in the red zone. It was different when we had a back like Joe Mixon who could, punch it in from there. A lot of it on his own. Chase Brown's a different type of back, and I love Chase Brown. Listen, I am so excited that he is a Bengal. He is going to be, I'm telling you, dude, he is going to be one of the Bengal great running backs. We're going to be talking about him for years and years, but he is not that type of running back. And when you get down to that red zone and the field compresses right to a very shorter space, that's where your offensive line has to play well, and the Bengals offensive line has not done that. So, and Malcolm's right. Malcolm did throw it out there. Jamar had a rare drop down there,
touchdown
and
drop.
that should have obviously that would have made a difference down there. But the play calling situationally is still bad. It just is.
So now, good transition here. Let's get to this. This speaking of Chase Brown, let's get to this injury report and discuss a little bit about this. So, looking at the injury report here, we've got Chase Brown is questionable. Sam Hubbard is out. Marius Mims is again questionable with that club on his right hand. Cam Taylor-Britt pops up with an ankle injury in practice on Wednesday, I believe. So that's a little concerning. I know he's had his ups and downs this year, but only had one bad play last week that I saw out there.
You don't need him. We still need him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's still very, very talented. If he doesn't go out there guessing and just lets take his receiver where he needs to take him. The bad play that he had last week was right in front of us, and wide receiver was running a route in. Cam looked like he did kind of one of his bad tendencies from earlier in the year. He guessed that he was going to the slant route, and then he did a little zig out and beat him out to the outside. Clearly, he was trying to predict what was happening. He saw it on film, but they used that against him. But outside of that play, he's been playing really good of late, so we need him out there. Charlie Jones questionable, and Drew Sample questionable. Charlie Jones has lingered for a long time here, so I wouldn't expect to see him play.
I think Zach said in his presser, though, the only ones that he wasn't 100% sure about was Chase Brown and Amarius Mims. So I think a good sign there for Cam Taylor-Britt and T and Drew. I don't think Charlie Jones is playing. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's been.
I think sorry to jump in there. I think it's also a factor of how well Jermaine Burton has played on kick returns and how well Isaiah Williams done on punt returns. You don't have to force Charlie Jones to come back there. I swear Jermaine's going to break one of those kick returns soon, man. Some of those, they're just one move away. I could see it happening this week, kind of be like that spark that Charlie gave us against the Browns. Let's talk about Chase Brown and Khalil Herbert. Really, is more of the conversation. We know what Chase Brown has brought to this team all year. If he's not able to go, do we think that Khalil Herbert is able to get the amount of run game that we need to be successful out there?
I do. I think. Listen. Khalil Herbert had a great season in Chicago last year. He played really well. I mean, listen, he's not some kind of scrub guy, like Zach Moss. He's not, he's a different type of back. I think I think we'll be fine with Khalil. And we it was kind of weird. I don't know if there's something going on with Travion, but the Bengals did sign one of those running backs. Yeah, Helton off of the practice squad to the active roster. So not sure if there's something. Cam Scatterbo, that running back from Arizona State. Yes, fuzzy balls. That dude is legit. He is special. That's who we need in the red zone. That's a red zone running back.
I don't know. I saw his offensive line body slam him for a touchdown, so I'll give credit to the offensive line.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
I still can't believe. Listen, I don't want to get off on that, but how does Arizona State on 4th and 13? How do you let somebody behind you? Is just absolutely atrocious. But yes. I think I do. I think that the Khalil Herbert will do fine. I really do. I like Herbert. I think Herbert should get more looks. I think he fumbled his first play as a Bengal, and I think he got kind of in the doghouse a little bit because of it. And but I like Khalil
Well,
Herbert. I'm not
I
worried at
mean,
all if it's Khalil Herbert. I
yeah,
just want to see Chase Brown. I want to see Chase Brown get 1,000. And obviously, the way Chase Brown has played as of late, he is. I think Joe Burrow loves him. I think Joe Burrow feels very comfortable with Chase Brown back there. You could kind of see that in the Hard Knocks. You could see them conversing and talking about pass pro and stuff. Um, listen, listen, Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow. Man, oh man, it's good. This offense is going to be even better next year.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, especially when you get a good run blocking interior line too. It give him some actual holes to run through. Um, kind of the couple questions off of that. If Chase Brown doesn't play,
Mm-hmm.
do you think we see? I mean, it's kind of been all year. It's been really a let's pass it a lot, but Chase Brown's been involved in that as well. Do you see more of a 75% passing game, or can
Oh
we
yeah.
try and lean on Herbert?
I listen, dude. No, I know there's going to be no leaning on Herbert. Listen, the Bengals are going to come out. Joe Burrow threw for over 303 touchdowns against Steelers the first time around. The Bengals, listen, they know they have to win this game to play next week. You got to put the ball in Joe Burrow's hands, and they're going to put the ball in Joe Burrow's hands. He's going to come out. He's probably going to throw 40 or 50 times. I think he's 300 and some yards away from 5,000. He's going to get 5,000.
359. Yeah, 359.
359. So yeah, he's going to get 5,000.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm all here for it. Let's we'll give our final thoughts, but let's go ahead and get our predictions for give your predictions for this game. I'll go with Mon's first. Mon has the Bengals winning 31-21.
That's a good one. Wow, that's a good one, Mon. I'm going to say Bengals win 34-17.
Okay.
I'm going to say Bengals win 34-17. I think I do. And I think I truly believe this. It's not just because I want it to. I really do. I see this whole thing working out in the Bengals' favor. I really do. I think we're going to be playing next week in Buffalo. We'll have to wait and see, but it all starts on Saturday night, Eric. You gotta take care of your business first, and then you got to worry about the rest. Are we going to be going live Saturday after the game?
Absolutely. We're
Absolutely.
always here live after the game.
All
We
right.
might be going live on Sunday too. We will be going live on Sunday after we're drinking some shots and celebrating.
Especially if it
Yeah.
works out in our favor. Let me ask you this
Yeah.
before we get out of here. I don't want to dive into this because this is going to take a whole show. But the Bengals' home and away schedule was released, right? We talked about it a little bit about it this week. The road schedule brutal, the home schedule easy. You'd like that to be flipped, right? But it's not, of course. Tell me real quick, what is the home game you're looking forward to the most, and the road game you're looking forward to the most?
Now you're gonna make me pull up. I don't have a steel trap on that one.
Well, let me throw it out there. I'll say it real quick for our listeners on Spotify. Here we go. Home games: Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, New England, New York Jets, Jacksonville, Chicago, Detroit, and Arizona. Which one of those are you looking forward to the most?
Well, I'm real excited for that Detroit game. My brother and my aunt are huge Lions fans, so I'm gonna try and convince them to come see what it's about in Cincinnati, show them around the beautiful city and everything, and then show them what it feels like to lose and hear the Who Dey chants and get to have all that going on. So that's one that I have circled for sure.
I love that matchup too. See, I'm the same way about the Bears because my friend Omesh, one of my closest friends in this world. Omesh is a huge Bears fan, so I'm looking forward to bringing him to the jungle and letting him witness what a real NFL organization looks like, what a real offense looks like. I cannot wait to bring Omesh so he can see a Hall of Fame quarterback live in person in Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then there's some good away games too. We talked about it. I said it earlier this year that the next time we play in Miami, we're going. So we're
Let's
playing
see
in
it real
Miami
quick.
next year.
Let's throw them out real quick. You
Yeah.
got Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. This is the road games, guys.
Yep.
Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Miami, Denver, Green Bay, and Minnesota. That's pretty tough.
Yeah,
That's a tough
it
road
is.
schedule. What are you looking forward to?
Man, I'm not looking forward to the road schedule. I'm looking forward to a trip to Miami. It'll be a fun game.
Hey,
We're going to try and
Bengals
rent a
Pulse.
party bus or
That's
something.
right. We're gonna do
Uh,
party bus, Bengals Pulse.
Maybe we can
Maybe
get Zim to
guys
come down too.
we got to
Yeah.
get listen. We got to get our guy Ace. He'll bring the neck pillows. It'll be a party.
And what we should do is try and get over to Carlos's restaurant. Maybe we can go live from Carlos's restaurant down
Oh,
there.
I
That would
like
be get some Ocho Cinco action too. Get him in it
I like that. Oh
involved.
yeah, you know Ocho will be there.
Yeah, that's going to be a great game. I want to see if there's any possibility of getting to that Green Bay game. There's nothing. That's a bucket list item. People watching a game at Lambeau Field, that would be awesome. And that Minnesota one too. That stadium is beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm not a big away game guy, but I'm a Bengals fan because when I was 5, I didn't want to be a Vikings fan. So would come full circle if I was able to get up there and see that. So, but that is a gauntlet because the Dolphins had not their year this year, but they're a talented team. There's not who's the team on there that's down and out outside of the Browns. Browns
Oh
never
yeah.
know what they can pull out, but that's every
the
one of those
Dolphins,
teams.
you just don't know what you're gonna get from the Dolphins. I don't know. I don't know about the Dolphins so much. Obviously, the Browns are just absolutely atrocious. But you're right. I mean, you look at six of those 8 games are against 6 of the best teams in the NFL. That's but the Bengals play well on the road, Eric, and I guess if it was going to be set up that way, it would be. I would love to go. I would love to go see Jamar Chase and Jetta play each other in Minnesota. I think that would be really. I think that would be really cool to watch. 2 of the really the Jamar being the best receiver in the NFL and Jetta being the second best. It'd be fun to watch that matchup.
Yeah, and the only thing to note, one of those home games is probably going to be taken away from us. So the Bengals Pulse is going to have to go to Germany or to London.
Or London, right? Listen, I like that Jacksonville game. I'm telling you, that Jacksonville home game, I would not be shocked if that was in London.
I wouldn't either. Jacksonville likes to play back-to-back in London. So
then we could do a Bengals Pulse Cincinnati trip to London. We can do the whole I don't know if you saw European Vacation where they're doing Big Ben and Parliament.
Yeah, there's Big Ben. There's Big Ben.
Yeah, there's Big Ben. Parliament. Where Griswold.
I don't want to see Jake driving on the other side of the road.
I could see Mon doing that. I could definitely see Mon doing the Griswold thing.
You thought I was Clark Griswold on the trip. Well, put me in over there. We're going to be in trouble. Before we get out of here, let's just talk about all this stuff that needs to happen. We've talked about what we believe is going to happen, but we save this comment for now because I've been ushering in. We started the season off with Dan Horde saying that it was written in the stars that Bengals were going to win it all in Louisiana, and we all believe it, and I still believe it. And everything that has had to happen, that has happened, and everything that needs to happen, that will happen, is shaping this up to be the greatest story ever told. And KP from KC pointed out earlier on that Joe Burrow, number 9, wins 9 straight, and he'll win the Super Bowl. I mean, how many more things can you add to this list of this cornucopia of craziness that has to happen to get us a Super Bowl championship?
I want you to say. First of all, you have to say that sentence 50 times in a row.
I'm putting it on a T-shirt. Cornucopia of craziness. To get the Cincinnati Bengals the championship.
I mean, how cool would that be, KP? That would be. It really would be an incredible story. Because again, listen, 4 weeks ago, everybody counted the Bengals out.
No,
4 weeks ago,
Not this guy.
4 weeks ago, everybody counted the Bengals out, and now, I mean, it would just be insane. It would be insane if everything fell into place. But let's be realistic, Eric. And I'm not just saying this as a Bengal fan and being a homer, but the Bengals deserve to be in the playoffs. They definitely deserve to be in it more than the Broncos and the Dolphins. So, if it all happens,
Oh, yeah. We should let the college football selection committee determine who gets to go in because
yes,
they pick who deserves to be there,
yes,
not who's got the best record.
yes, yes. But I mean, realistically, the Bengals beat the Broncos, so they have that head-to-head, and the Dolphins are just awful. They're just an awful team. The Bengals legitimately are 4 plays away from being a 13-win team. Legitimately a 13-win team. They are not an 8-8 team. I know that's what their record says, and you are what your record is, and blah, blah, blah. But this team is not an 8-win team. And we'll just have to see how it all plays out. We will be here for you guys after the game Saturday night. Kickoff is at 8 p.m. It is going to be awesome. And we will be here going live right after the game on the Bengals Pulse to be talking about the following day, what we want to see happen in order for the Bengals to be dancing. Once again, guys, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the awesome podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. As always, if you like this podcast, make sure you give us that 5-star review. We would very much appreciate that. As always, guys, check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Cincinnati Podcast Network. Follow our guy, Mon, on Twitter at @TheFireMon. Follow me on Twitter at Coach Jake Owens 9. Follow Eric on Twitter at eFlash with 2 H's 88. Follow the Cincinnati Podcast on Twitter at Cincinnati Pod. And follow the Bengals Pulse on Twitter, as always, at Bengals_Pulse9 on Instagram. The same without the at Bengals_Pulse9. Once again, we want to give a shout out to our guy, Mon, out there protecting our community. We appreciate you, Mon. Be safe tonight, brother. We love you. And we will be talking to you very soon. He is Eric. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse. Hoo day, Bengal fans. We will see you Saturday night after Bengals win.